Most people don't think about where their water comes from. They just turn on the tap and they expect it to be there.
To the people of poor nations, we pledge to work alongside you to make your farms flourish and let clean waters flow, to nourish starved bodies and feed hungry minds. And to those nations like ours that enjoy relative plenty, we say we can no longer afford indifference to the suffering outside our borders, nor can we consume the world's resources without regard to effect. For the world has changed, and we must change with it.
This notion that we'll have water forever is wrong. The world is running out of fresh water.
End Water Poverty is a global coalition campaign of over 150 NGOs and charities. They work to end the water and sanitation crisis, claiming 4,000 children's lives every day.
Who owns water? Who gets to make the decisions about water?
Water privatization was forced on Bolivia by the World Bank.
Water is the most precious commodity for them in the world.
The mission of the One Drop Foundation is to fight poverty around the world by providing access to safe water today and tomorrow.
Water is not a property.
The water sector is going to grow at 2 to 3 times the global economy over the next 20 years.
The market is amoral, and it's going to lead you to selling to those who can buy it and not to those who need it.
Water must be protected everywhere.
Who owns the water for survival owns you. And that's the picture that people have to understand.
It's not a Democratic issue and it's not a Republican issue. It's a people issue.
Pollution of the water systems is creating cholera, and water diseases are killing more children today than malaria or AIDS or even wars themselves. In the wetlands.
Unevenly distributed and unequally accessible water is becoming ever more contaminated because of how we use it. These inequalities cannot be attributed solely to the climatic differences. More often than not, they are the result of the uneven distribution of wealth. Also, the more we overuse and pollute the water, the less safe water there is to be shared among current and future generations. We are all responsible for taking action to ensure that everyone has access to safe water in sufficient quantities today and tomorrow. We must pull together and put our energy and creativity into coming up with global solutions.
70% of the earth is covered with water, but only 2.5% of the earth's water is fresh water. The rest is salt water in our oceans and seas. Of all fresh water on Earth, more than 2/3 is frozen in the ice caps of Antarctica and Greenland. Most of the rest is difficult to access. Deep aquifers, mountain glaciers, or ice sheets. What is readily accessible for us in the rest of nature is a mere 0.007% of the Earth's water. This is water contained in lakes, rivers, reservoirs, and shallow underground sources. This is what we have. And it's not evenly distributed. Some have plenty. Many have so little that survival is at stake. In this world, being poor often means that you don't have access to clean water.
When the water system doesn't work, then the civilization goes.
They've handed power over to big water companies who want to create a kind of water cartel
so that one day every single drop of fresh water in the world will be privately owned and controlled.
These corporations aren't accountable to the communities that they serve. They're accountable to their shareholders.
I think Wall Street understands this is the commodity to be invested in.
This has become the most precious thing on earth.
Water is a supply and demand commodity. The question is how to get it from source to market.
So here's one of the driest continents on earth being told by the World Bank to export its water. The well is not going to come from the top, it's going to come from the bottom up. The leaders in our movement are coming from the grassroots.
And I'm talking Republicans, Democrats.
Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting. We're fighting.
But we're fighting for the people that are going to use it in the future, our kids and their kids. If we don't do something to save it, what are they going to have?
We are not talking about potential tension. We are talking about blood being spilled on the streets.
If money is more important than water, where are we?
Lack of clean water and sanitation problems is the biggest killer in the world. And I have a constant, probably guilt trip from living in, and I think most people who live in a country like we do, let alone do jobs like me and you might do, it's too hard to ignore what's going on in developing world countries, so I've always been drawn to issues there. And as the biggest killer, I think that to deliver clean water is such like a basic necessity, a basic thing that we take for granted.
His mission, he's on a mission to talk about how precious water is on the planet. And we love Guy.
I'm telling you.
Well, you are the first clown in space, and we think it's a great idea for you to give us your perspective on our little planet while you're not on our little planet and instead looking down on it. And how do we look from here? How does our little planet look, Guy?
The blue of it, when there's cloud, sunrise, sunset, there's amazing image. Sometimes you see the moon and earth at the same time in the perspective.
Thank you, Guy. Guy La Liberté, first clown in space. Safe trip, safe home, Guy.
I thank you for joining the Ripple Effect. Together, we can hope to create a change. All for water, water for all. Peace.
Feel